paleo to sugar-free to fasting. There's a raft of health information out there and it can all get very confusing. Top-selling author Dr. Libby Weaver is today starting a one-woman crusade across New Zealand to cut through the noise, to tell us how we tell the difference between a food fad and solid advice. Dr. Libby's here now. Good morning.
Good morning, Hilary.
Lovely to have you here. Now, you have this new book, and it's very cleverly called What Am I Supposed to Eat? So let's answer that question first. What am I supposed to eat?
So the short version is it can be different for everyone, but to break it down for people, food actually isn't healthy. Humans are or they aren't. Food is nutritious or it isn't, and the more nutritious food we eat, the healthier we'll be. So a great question to ask is, when you've got a food in front of you, is will this nourish me? And if it's a whole real food, the answer is likely to be yes.
Why have we got so confused about what to put in our mouths?
Once upon a time, we got our information from somewhere like Encyclopedia Britannica, and I think we trusted the experts that had written that, whereas now, obviously, there's a huge amount of information out there written, some by experts, but also there's information out there written by very well-meaning people, but they're really sharing what's worked for them, and that doesn't necessarily pass on to other people, so we have to know where our information's coming from.
Because we're all so different, and I was really interested reading your book, that even where we came from affects what foods will be nutritious for us or not. And I was particularly interested in the story that you told about the Irish, who have a really, really large incidence of celiac disease.
Yes, that's right. So our heritage plays an enormous role in what our digestive system is able to handle and the enzymes we make. So there's a huge incidence of celiac disease down that Irish line because until 1845, the major source of starch for Irish people were potatoes, and then the potato famine hit and that all changed, and gluten-containing grains became a much bigger part of what they ate on a daily basis. So our heritage can play an enormous role. There's confusion around coconut at the moment. So there's good science saying it's fine, there's good science saying it's a concern. Our heritage is going to play
a... What do you think? Coconut thing?
Well, I think...
Are we on that bandwagon or not?
I think it's a good thing to include at times. I don't think we need to go gung-ho into it. I think that's where one of the things we go wrong. We think if we hear something is good for us, we tend to massively overconsume it.
You know that food pyramid that we all used to follow?
Yeah.
Is it time to tip that upside down?
It's certainly time to change it.
Yeah.
Another example, the middle part of that says that everyone needs 3 serves of dairy products a day, but when it's well documented in the medical journals around the world that about 98% of people of Asian heritage are lactose intolerant. So one of the things I love to bring to life in my work is to help people get back in touch with what works for them, and your body, your own body, is your best barometer.
Yeah, that's really good advice. I'm sitting here listening and going, okay, it's complicated. How do I know what's good for me? Because you know how your body reacts, right?
That's right. So if something gives you reflux, it's not your body saying, yes, I'm so thrilled you just ate that. It's giving you some feedback about the choice you just made is not so good for you right now.
I want to talk about fat too, because that's another, I don't want to call it a fad, but a movement, if you like, to embrace fat again. Cream and butter and these sorts of things. Tell me a bit more about that.
So one of the great things about fat is that as soon as it's in your mouth, it communicates with the satiety centre of your brain to let you know that you're eating. So one of the problems with very low-fat diets was that a lot of people massively overate. They craved sugar. So when we include more whole food fat, avocado, nuts, seeds, coconut, organic butter, for example, that can help to quell the hunger, which is another massive challenge for people. If you're just pursuing satisfying your hunger when you eat, you're not necessarily going to make nutritious choices. So sometimes including more whole food fat can make a difference to the total amount of food we're going to eat in a day.
And don't stress out about the calories too, because I mean, truly, butter and cream, I just think, calories!
When we've grown up through that low-fat era, that's what it does scream at you. But if we look further, when we consume carbohydrates, for example, that leads us to make insulin, which is a hormone that says store fat. When we consume dietary fat, there's no hormone that's made that says store fat. So we want to ensure our body is effectively able to use fat as a fuel. It's a big part of the message in the book.
OK, I'm going to the supermarket. Help me do my shopping. What am I looking for on food labels? Or should I avoid anything with a food label?
My preference is to steer people back to choosing predominantly whole and real food, but of course I live in the same real world as everyone else and we're still going to eat things out of packets. So what you want to do is make sure there are as few ingredients as possible on the actual ingredients list. You want to make sure there's not numbers and strange words that you don't understand. So try not to consume things like preservatives. If you buy hummus, choose a preservative-free one. They're there available. So choosing different brands sometimes can make a difference. And then vegetables. We need plenty of fresh food going into those trolleys.
For everybody watching now, what are your top 2 tips that people can do to change their diet right now to feel better?
Well, the first thing is actually to chew their food incredibly well. Most people inhale their food, and when we inhale it, we don't get all of the goodness out of it. Chewing stimulates stomach acid to be produced so that we get the nutrients out, and it's the nutrients that keep us alive.
Okay, I'm writing this down. Chew more. Yeah, chew.
And I've already mentioned the vegetables. That's so important, obviously.
Good.
But I would also say that the joy that we experience with food is also incredibly important. When we want to look after how we eat, that doesn't mean missing out on things that we love. It is what we do every day that impacts on our health. It's not what we do occasionally. So we must stop believing that there's a wagon to fall off. So I feel that, yeah, being in touch with that our health is so incredibly precious, and investing in that through nutritious food choices is a really great way to approach looking after ourselves.
Fantastic.